Two of the most important works of art in the Vermont State House are statues that are found in the House vestibule directly outside the House chamber. They're bronze statues of the Hunter and the Indian by William Henry Reinhardt. Reinhardt was a Maryland sculptor who designed the Hunter and the Indian as statues that flanked a clock in the United States Congress in Washington, D.C. The original statues flanking the clock are no longer in the Capitol building, but are statues made by the lighting fixture manufacturer Cornelius and Baker were marketed to the Vermont State House when it was built in 1859, and they were placed in these niches in the House vestibule in that very year. Cornelius and Baker of Philadelphia produced all of the gas lights throughout the State House, but they also took their inspiration from many different artists. And in some cases, like this, they did not get the permission of the artist to reproduce the artist's work. So these statues were produced for the Vermont State House without the permission of William Henry Reinhardt, the sculptor. He sued the lighting fixture manufacturer. The suit was never really settled, and we continue to have these pirated designs by one of America's great mid-19th century sculptors in our collection to this day. They represent the European people of the United States as well as the Native American people of this country.
I think most of my constituents are probably a bit surprised to see the emphasis that's been put on global warming and climate change here in the first couple of weeks of the legislature. And I think if they take a look at their checkbooks for the last 3 or 4 years, they'll find out that heating costs and gasoline prices and health insurance have probably eaten up more of their disposable income than anything else. And there's a lot of talk this year about property tax reform. I think that's going to be an easier and less expensive concern to deal with. So I've been, first week I was really kind of discouraged at looking at what would happen if the seas went up 4 feet and Vermont became much wetter and the West became drier and food costs, etc. And last week, there have been quite a few folks that have come in and said we can increase our economic security and be less dependent on the Middle East, which is certainly volatile and is keeping a lot of our families away from home in risky situations. If we implement some cost-effective transportation issues and home heating, everything from insulation to types of fuels, and every time I listen to them speak and I look at the graphs that are proposed, I always ask myself, is this going to be a net economic gain to Vermont? Is it going to save constituents money? Is it going to keep young people at home with jobs that have a future? And will we be able to export our expertise here in Vermont to the rest of the United States and use that and reap some economic benefit from it? So I hope folks will keep an open mind on that and be prepared to ask me questions if they run into me. And it has surprised me at how unbelievably large I thought the problem was when it first came, and it surprised me to see the number of things that were doable that would make a positive contribution in the years to come.
Hi folks, this is Susan Davis, your new representative from Orange 1, representing the towns of Washington, Williamstown, Orange, Chelsea, Vershire, and Corinth. This is my 3rd week here at the State House representing you, and I'd like you to know that I am on the Commerce Committee. The Commerce Committee deals with bank insurance, securities issues. We'll be taking up the new broadband initiative, speaking to the e-state and e-government initiatives that the governor talked about in his address to the state. We also work with economic development, the Vermont Department of Labor, dealing with workers' compensation issues, as well as housing development and other things. And as your representative, last night I attended the first statewide educational governance committee that was held at Oxbow in Bradford, Vermont. It was a little disappointing to the folks who were there because Commissioner Kate was not in attendance, though we had a video, and they felt that they were not really discussing educational governance, and we are actually excited to see the proposal from Commissioner Kate so that we could have an open discussion and give him our input. The folks that were there from the Education Department are taking that back to Commissioner Kate, and we hope to hear from them soon. For now, I guess that's it, and hope to see you all soon at town meeting. Thanks.
Hi, yes, I'm Representative Phil Winters from Williamstown, one of the two representatives that represent 6 Orange County towns. Serve on the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the tax committee. Up to this point, we have spent most of our time reviewing the things that we have done in the past. Certainly, one of the things that we will spend a lot of time on is financing of education. And certainly as many different ideas as to which way to go as there are people here in the committee and maybe in the House. I happen to be one of those that feels that the method of paying for education is not the problem. It's a symptom of the fact that we can no longer control costs. And this goes back to Act 60, where we are pretty much insulated at the local level for the things that we do at town meeting. I guess I'm one of those that believe that in order to be responsible, people have to hurt, they have to know that everything they do has consequences, and we simply, in my opinion, cannot continue to have the cost, allow the cost of education to grow at the 5, 6, 7% rate. Really don't know the answer, but looking at the cost end is certainly something I feel that we have to do. Thank you.
Okay, this week so far has been quite busy. Yesterday was the semi-annual meeting of the Emergency Board. The Emergency Board sets the revenue and expense, the revenue estimates that both the administration and the legislature will use when we're doing budgets and other financial projects. This keeps us from getting into difficulty and working off of different estimates. After that, the Finance Committee got a revenue update from the state, from our economist, Tom Cavett, and also a fiscal presentation on the state fiscal situation from Steve Klein from Joint Fiscal. Today we heard from the tax department. We got an overview of our tax study, which is being updated from 10 years ago, comparing Vermont with other states, and we're still working our way through that. It's a rather complex document. We got a updating from the tax department on their current projects, including we'd asked last year for a negative tax revenue. It's all the tax credits we've given out, which is money we don't bring in. We'd asked for an analysis of what that was so we have a handle on how much we're giving away and who it's going to, and we got that, plus an update on trying to create a revenue department and consolidating all our revenue. in one place in the state. Tomorrow we start with education, finance, property taxes, and this will again be a status report, implementation of the things we did last year, projections, looking at the fund balance. This is all in these first 2 weeks, bringing the committee up to speed before we start. Next week we will actually be starting on bills. Friday, we will be getting an update on prescription drug legislation, letting the new members of the committee know what they've done, what we've done in the past, and then getting an update from both our staff, and we're hoping to be able to connect with the Northeast, the National now Legislative Association on prescription drug pricing to find out what is going on nationally and to start to assess if there's something more we can do here to bring down the price of prescription drugs. So that's it for this week.
Well, this is a very exciting week. I reported the first bill out of the Senate, the first Senate bill. It had to do with energy conservation. And under the present law, we can have energy coordinators, but they can only serve a one-year term, and you have to have a town-wide vote. So we're beyond that now, and so the law we passed said that the local government can decide how long an energy coordinator can serve, and also it can determine whether there should be one or not. So it's a nice victory for local government. But in addition to that, the energy coordinators, particularly at this time when we're talking about energy conservation and global warming and all those issues, the individual citizens and towns can play a major role. And while we're talking about global warming, why not just talk about the 246 towns that we have in Vermont and the role that they can play? Already there are 60 energy coordinators, and I think it's by the passage of this bill, many more will appear. Already the many local governments are involved in wastewater, buildings, green codes, and so on and so forth, and are making contributions already. And sometimes it's not realized that local governments really are laboratories of democracy, that some of the ideas at the local government that work can be translated onto the state government in the same way state government can be local laboratories for national agendas. So that was a pretty exciting bill, and it was nice that the first bill out had to do with energy conservation. Today I'll be putting in 2 constitutional amendments, one for the 4-year term. As you know, if we're going to compete in a global economy, we have to think in a more long-range way, and certainly the governors for the 4-year term can have a long-range view and improve upon the planning process. Sometimes with a 2-year term you get short-term decisions which aren't necessarily the best for the state. So the other one was an exciting one that I found out about Maine, who organizes their legislature in December. Wouldn't the legislature be more effective if they knew 2 or 3 weeks in advance what they had to do? And so this bill would call for an organizational session in early December. Committee assignments would be made in mid-December, and you'd know in advance the committee you're going to serve upon, and you wouldn't waste, in a sense, the 2 weeks we do in the opening session. So that's pretty exciting. Today, in Government Operations Committee, we're reviewing the election laws of 2006, and there are several suggestions that our committee in Government Operations will take up and pass on to improve the election law process. In education, we heard from the Next Generation report, and one thing particularly we talked about was the fact that the dual enrollment is a good idea, and no better idea than comes from Barre, where it's important that students that take a normal high school can take courses in the vocational, and the vocational can go for cross-section. That was a very important part of the Next Generation report, and I think it has particular implications for Barre. Because when I went to the meeting into the Barre teachers, and about a month ago, that was very much on the agenda, and very strongly supported by the principals and superintendent and the whole school and teachers. So that's basically the report for the week. Thanks for asking. And if anyone does have any questions, I'd be pleased to hear from you. 223-2851, and my cell is 371-7898. And my email is wdoyle@leg.state.bt.us. Thanks so much.
Well, this week we're still trying to catch up in our committees of jurisdiction, mine being institutions in the afternoon. We're taking up the subject this afternoon of an issue at the Bennington state office complex, and they've had to evacuate the building and so forth. So we're having a joint hearing with the House institutions, which we do every now and then. We want to be as efficient as possible and not take up too much time of people that have been asked to travel long distance to come and testify. We're going to be taking up the state hospital on Thursday, and in transportation, we've been taking up climate change this week. Our chair is very interested in that subject, and we are also just going over the budget from last year and anticipating the governor's budget address on the 23rd, which he'll make his announcements for both institutions and transportation. So we'll have something to work from at that point. So I guess that's about does it this week.
Again, Leo Vallier, Vice Chair of the General Housing and Military Committee. We've had probably one of the busiest weeks we've had. We got our assignments, of course, since I've talked to you last time. And we've also hit the ground running, most of us. There's a lot of issues that are coming up, and a lot of very interesting issues, very vocal issues, a lot of them. But in the housing part of what we're doing in our committee is, I want to let you know, is we've been discussing now affordable housing, and it's going to be a long road, a lot of work, but we're discussing now tax credits that are going to be available for affordable housing, what sort of mix we can have. Of course, the new neighborhood concept is coming up, which we'll have more to report on later on, but this will be streamlining the permit and the regulatory procedures so that we can get new neighborhoods developed within our town, and with more speed and more efficiency than we have had before. So as this fleshes out, then we'll be able to tell you more about it. We're just starting on it now. But tax credits is a big part of it. And streamlining the permit processes is going to be at least able for us to at least start working and getting more people interested into the affordable housing business. And again, like I said last week, it's not cheap housing. It's housing that costs less that we can afford, that middle income families can get into. We talked a bit last week about livable wage, and which is a side of a discussion, and this is the wage above minimum wage, but where a family should be at in order to live a comfortable life. We had a bill that's going to be introduced, we think we're working on now, but it's a swimming pool safety bill, making a requirement that all pools statewide have a 4-foot fence around it with a locking gate. Unfortunately, a child was just lost, not last fall. A 2-year-old child went into a neighbor's yard, fell into their pool and drowned. Very touching scene, and we hope that it won't be repeated. If the law helps, then that's what we'll do. But perhaps that's not the way to go about it, but at least we will be discussing it. There is another little bill that's coming by that we don't hear much about, and I said I want to bring you. We always hear about the big bills that are the big concerns, like global warming, for instance, but this is a proposal is coming up that an 18-year-old man could sit there and when he registers for his driver's license, he will be registering for a selective service card. This makes him eligible for a lot of government programs, a lot of scholarships that he wouldn't otherwise be available, and some government jobs. If he's not registered in a selective service, then you aren't eligible for any government jobs or a lot of these scholarships. Maybe a lot of young men aren't aware of this, and maybe just by having them register for the draft, like this, well, I say select the service, and it would make them eligible for these, and I think it'd be a good discussion. There's some liquor bills are coming in under the beverage, and there's some high alcohol beers out there that are just coming in on the microbreweries, and we have a number of our microbreweries, which incidentally we have the highest per capita number of microbreweries in Vermont that of any other state. But these beers are considered high content beers. They've gone past the limit of alcohol that you can have in a beer, and have to be sold to the liquor stores. A lot of the brewers would like to sell this on the stores with a beer selection. So we'll see how that works out. I don't have any indication how that'll work, but I'm sure we'll be working on that shortly. Bill is being introduced, and it should be coming over to us. And finally, again, physician-assisted suicide is showing up, and I'm sure that'll be a very emotional testimony will be given and taken on that bill. So I guess for now I've got my time taken up, but that's what we're doing in housing, and that's what we're doing under the Golden Dome here. So until next week, this is Representative Leo Vallier signing off.
Good afternoon, Representative Harry Monty here. I have been appointed to the Transportation Committee. We are quite busy right now with global warming, a lot of meetings, and starting Tuesday we'll be working on the budget adjustment for this year, and then we'll start on next year's budget. A lot of things going on down here, very, very busy, and that's why we like it. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Hi, well, this is the third week of the legislature, and for me, as you know, I'm an incumbent, first-year incumbent, and I'm absolutely enjoying every minute of it. So, again, want to thank you. I'm on the Education Committee, and we've been really looking at all kinds of issues, particularly related to finance, to governance, to how the whole system works together. It's been very interesting. A lot of the discussions that have come before the committee have really promoted a lot of questions, and there's certainly going to be more questions and issues to deal with as we move further. We did attend a report by Bill Stenger on the Next Generation report. It was a summer study that needed to look at how to kind of spend the money that the governor had put aside in the legislature for potentially for scholarships. The report is excellent. I would encourage everybody to take a look at it. Again, one thing that it focused on, which I'm very interested in, is the importance of technical education to meet the needs of our businesses, but also to really encourage students who are not interested in going to college to get involved in this field, in the field of technical education and the new jobs that are available in that field. We're also talking about governance, I said, and finance. We had also had a discussion about pre-K. As you know, there was another summer study this year looking at the importance of pre-K and whether, in fact, that's something the state needs to pursue. Still lots of questions to be answered, so there's not really any definitive answer right now. The Education Committee will be taking a look at that. I'd love to have everybody's input on those issues and anything else that you'd like to bring to my attention. My home number, if I may, is 802-476-8411. I also can be reached through the legislative email, but also I have a website that I am starting to put together. It's www.patmcdonaldvt.com. I'm a novice at this, so it may be a little slow, but I'm learning, and I think what I'm going to do is every week put an update on exactly what's been happening, and also be using this vehicle to let you know what's going on. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I really do want to hear from you. Thank you.
Well, the Institutions Committee for the last few days has been looking at state capital projects. We met with the Capital Debt Affordability Committee, which is recommending that we issue bonds this year in the amount of $49.2 million. we have capital requests exceeding $150 million, so we're going to have to do a little something about prioritizing and sorting them out. We've been listening and reviewing to the various requests, haven't gotten anywhere near all of them, but we have about $33 million in school construction requests and eligibility. We're looking at a possible renovation of portions of the State House, which if you've ever visited here, and I would encourage people to visit, you find we have very cramped working quarters, and it's very difficult to get people into committee rooms and that sort of thing, particularly if they're involved with wheelchairs and things of that sort. We're looking at courthouse renovations and any number of other projects. So that's what the Institutions Committee has been doing. We're not in a position to make decisions yet. We're just listening at this point, and decisions will come in a few weeks.
Hello again from the State House. This is Topper McFawn. Give you a little bit of an update on what we've been doing for the last several days. I've been part of the committee work that we've been doing is collecting information on the implementation of the Catamount Health Plan. That's going to be ongoing until October. There's no question about that. But some of the things that we're finding out now is some things are going well, others are not going so well, and we're getting recommendations in terms of how to correct those things that aren't going well. That may translate into technical changes to the existing legislation. The other thing that I've been involved in is the Healthcare Commission, and we just interviewed several people for the director's job, which will be the beginning of the staffing for that commission. That commission oversees all healthcare reform that will take place in the state of Vermont. And basically, they're the two things that I've been heavily involved with. In terms of floor action, no bills have come to the floor yet, so there's really nothing to report there. But as we go through this each week, I'm sure that there'll be a lot to report on. Thank you.